What's up, everybody? This is See You Sunday. This is the Off the Ball Network. This is Steven. This is Chris. This is Kenneth. I'm Jeff, and we're ready to talk about Week 9 NFL. I'm Jeff. I'm not your usual host of the show, but our man Couch Coach couldn't be on this week, so I told him I would take the reins. It's going to be a little off course, going to be a little different, but we're going to get through it. We're going to have a little fun. So, how are you gentlemen today?
Oh man, I'm doing great, Jeff. It's a beautiful Saturday here in Southeast Georgia. It's cloudy, it's rainy, it's stay inside and snuggle up weather, but make best with what we got. I can't think of a better way to kick off a Saturday morning though than to talk NFL with you guys, and I appreciate you having me on, brother.
We've also got the Prez of the Off the Ball Network, Chris LeBron. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Always, it's always good to hop on, See You Sunday. I missed the last few, but always good to come on and chop it up and talk football. My team isn't doing the best, so maybe it's good, get to talk about other teams that are actually having success this season.
And we've also got Kenneth with us. If technology holds up, Kenneth, how are you today?
I think my technology is holding up. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, not
sir.
too bad. Get a little night.
You're very nasal.
I'm excited for this week's storylines because it feels like we're just about to cross the halfway point of the season. I think that means we really start to find out who's potential playoff teams and who isn't because, there's a lot of teams, especially in the AFC, that are hovering around that 500 mark that need wins this week because if they don't, then they're going to have to run the gauntlet for the rest of the year in order to potentially have a playoff spot. So those are the storylines that I'm looking at, those teams that are sort of on the bubble. Pretty much everyone in the AFC North and AFC West are a part of that. So those are my storylines that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, Kenneth, you sound like you're our first radio caller today on the show, man. You
the
sound
first
awesome.
ever radio caller.
Hey guys, first time caller here from up in
First time, long time. So Kenneth,
First
just so
time,
you know,
long time.
I will mute you occasionally in and out of the show. No, don't take any offense to it. So so we keep on track here.
Sounds good.
All right. Okay, so here we go. So Kenneth brought up what my storyline is going to be, so we'll start with that. And I kind of called it this Sunday. It's either going to be a separation Sunday or it's going to be a sandwich Sunday. So you've got a lot of teams playing that have put themselves in really good shape, but if they take a bad loss or an unexpected loss, it's going to bring them back to the pack, and then now they're fighting for that wild card spot. Everything gets muddled up, or a big win and they make some distance and they give themselves a little leeway, maybe take, control of their division. So just basically the same thing Kenneth said. This is kind of a do or die weekend in some of these games. It's going to be crazy coming out of this. If it all goes one way, we're going to have a season in the NFL. Looks like everybody's going to be 9-7, or we can get some separation. So I kind of agree. So how about you, Steven? What's your storyline?
So my big storyline is just, how talented the NFC is, because what we're seeing in the AFC is a lot of that bottlenecking. But if you look at some of the top teams in the NFC, they've kind of established themselves. I feel like we know what the cream is over in the NFC. There's Dallas, there's Green Bay, there's, my LA Rams is in the mix. Arizona is right there with them, lockstep in the same division. The Saints, despite the injuries, despite however people may feel one way or the other about the composition of this roster, they're still getting it done, right? And then it's just kind of like everybody else. But on the AFC, we have the Bills, the Bengals, and maybe another team here or there that looks like they could compete. We'll throw the Titans in that mix, even though they just lost King Henry. It looks like the AFC is up for grabs for anybody for the wrong reasons. The NFC is up for grabs for the right reasons. There's that higher level of competition at the top. And that's kind of my storyline for this week.
No, that makes sense because you're right. I mean, just look at it this way. I think right now the Browns are either the 7th or 8th team, like the last team in, or we'll say the Browns or the Steelers are the last team in the playoffs right now in the AFC. And there is no way at this point in the season anybody in the world outside of maybe Aaron Rodgers believes that either one of those two teams can compete for a Super Bowl.
Mhm.
So you're exactly right as to where over
And I forgot to mention the Dallas Cowboys. I'm so sorry for my buddy Mo.
You're
Yeah,
all right.
Forgot to mention the Dallas
You don't
Cowboys.
have to
How could
mention
I?
them.
Okay, so okay. Kenneth's got himself muted. Great. He's taking care of his, Kenneth's a pro. He's taking care of his own mic. I like that.
My guy. It's my guy.
So Prez, what's your storylines? Is it the New York Giants fight for a playoff spot?
And we're still in it. No,
hey, you're in the NFC East, man. You're always in it.
I mean, it's not to go talk about them, but they've blown so many late games that they should be the reverse record, right? I mean, it's the last second losses, the bad play down the stretch, but that's for a whole nother. But for me, and Steven had mentioned this, the AFC is, I've never remembered the last time the AFC was this wide open, right? We really have, who's the front runner in the AFC that you feel like, okay, they're grabbing the conference by the neck and they're the favorites to go to the Super. We don't know, right? We're so used to the Chiefs being that team, right? The Patriots of past with Brady and all that. That's not the case anymore, right? We see, like we mentioned with the Titans, right? They don't have, King Henry's gone now. Derrick Henry's gone. So we don't know what the record is still good, but we don't know how they're going to look now without him, right? The NFC, the AFC South, right? That division, like I said, mentioned with the Titans, the AFC North, what's going on with there? We thought the Bengals may have finally got there, and then boom, they lose to the Jets. And it's like,
the Ravens could easily be a 2-win team. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're a fine team, but they could easily have just 2 wins. They're the
So the Ravens offense hasn't been clicking and all that. Buffalo, they're another team. Like we're waiting for Buffalo to take it. Like they should be like the cream of the crop, right?
And they look like
still have their ups and downs, right? So like and in the AFC West, obviously the Chiefs are, tied for last with Denver and all that, and you got the Raiders. Like they're in first place, but they're obviously, we all know what's gone on the last month and a half or so with the whole Gruden and unfortunate stuff with Henry Ruggs. So it's like, who's going to take this? We thought the Chargers early on, oh, they're for real, and then they slipped up. So the AFC to me is the biggest storyline. It's like, who's going to be the cream of the crop? Like anyone can come out of the AFC right now. So to me, that's the biggest storyline for me is who's everyone's bunched up together. I don't think there's one team right now that's like the definitive best team in the AFC. So to me, it's like, all right, who's going to come out of this? I don't know if it's going to be this week, but in the next few weeks, who's going to come out and be the leader and of the AFC, and who's going to take that reign and be that favorite?
Yeah, for sure. There's a few games on the schedule too that'll help. I think we'll talk about it when we go to games to watch here in just a second. But that Ravens game, everybody's watching. The whoever wins the Cincinnati versus Cleveland game, that's going to mean a lot. So that is a good point. I thought the Bills. I still have them. I think third in my rankings this week. I really like them. And mainly because I know that at their best, they can beat anybody, but we just saw them lose a game that they clearly should have won against Tennessee. Yeah. I'm not saying Tennessee wasn't good enough to be in that game, but I know it's not fair, but early in the season, I don't count those losses the same as I do like the Chargers loss to the Ravens or the Bengals loss to the Jets, because it's not. Because I know that if you give the Buffalo Bills that ball and that field position 10 times, 9 times, they probably win that game. So it's hard. I can't tell my eyeballs that I didn't see that. That they did everything except get the win. Now in week 11 or 12, it doesn't matter. It's all about putting yourself in position. But I still like this Bills team going into the playoffs. I think they match up good against the NFC teams a little better. I think the Titans do before the Henry injury. We'll see afterwards. I hate to admit that a running back's that important to a team, but Derrick Henry is my one exception this year of how important he is to a team. But
You're
yeah,
right.
I
You're
think
right, Jeff. It's crazy how important. Like, and we're on the same boat as far as running backs, right?
yeah.
And
Well, I
but
bet
this
you
running back
are.
is different. He's different though. Like, because to me, he's still that traditional running back, and he's a different breed. So I'm going to see, how they're going to look, as far as working the play action and all that, because that was big with the receivers they have. So I'm curious to see how they look with Nick.
Yeah.
I think Nichols is the starting running back now. They brought
I
in
believe
AP,
so, yeah. And I'm not going to do a Tennessee Titans podcast on this, but I tried to tell everybody
Well, why
that
not?
the addition of Julio Jones was not going to turn them into a Tecmo Bowl team, and all of a sudden nobody could stop them. Like it hasn't worked. It hasn't changed. If anything, the offense has probably taken a step back. Honestly, so sometimes I like to gloat when I'm right. When it does happen, and I was totally right about this Tennessee offense. People got a little too excited about that. So let's go to Steven's point here. I like what you brought up about the NFC because I'm doing my rankings last week. If you guys could see the process of doing the rankings, you kind of see what I'm talking about here. But I basically, as I'm moving these teams up, and then what I do is I start looking down through it, because what I don't want to have is like all 4 NFC West teams 1, 2, and 3, because that's not going to happen. So I try to like look at it after I do it, and all of a sudden I look over and I'm like, I believe the top half of my rankings, those 16 at one point it was like 11-5, like NFC to AFC, and I'm going, what's going on here? And I went back and I really looked, and Steven, just like you said, I could not talk myself. It didn't wind up that way. I think a couple changed, but it's still lopsided, and I couldn't talk myself into it. I couldn't look at the Browns, the Chargers. Now I couldn't look at these teams and say that they're as good as the NFC teams just because they're in the AFC. So you're totally right about that, about how top heavy that conference is right now, and they're good teams.
Yeah.
The Packers are going to be a little different. Maybe 2 weeks without Rodgers, that could affect, but it's still in that they're still going to make the playoffs if nothing crazy happens, and that's a team that can beat anybody. Arizona's a team that can beat anybody. They've proved it. I worry about Kyler Murray. I think he's hurt, and I would not be shocked if he doesn't finish the season. Something feels weird about him, and when it comes to quarterbacks and arms, it's just like a pitcher. It's just with Baker. I think Baker's hurt too. So Arizona, I'm worried about Arizona right now, but they're still a team that can beat anybody. The Rams are clearly right now at this very second playing as good as anybody in the league. The difference that Stafford makes, over Goff from last year is amazing. And at least once because I really love this Rams team, so I watch them a lot. Once or twice a game, he throws the ball, and I'm like, that's the difference between your top quarterbacks and then your next level. He threw a pass over the middle in the red zone last week to a guy that clearly wasn't open, but he threw it so hard and so perfectly that it basically just lodged in the shoulder pads. I think it was the tight end, might have been Higbee. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, but that's the difference in a touchdown and a field goal. That's a 4-point difference on one play. And then so it's just little things that he's doing. I think the Rams are in great shape. The addition of Von Miller, I mean, my goodness. But they're a team that's all I look at. Can you beat everybody? And then the AFC, I don't know who can beat everybody. I think the Bills can. The Titans can, but they probably can't now. I thought maybe I don't think we ever believed the Bengals could beat anybody in the league but on any given Sunday they could, but I don't know in the playoffs. But still, and then the Ravens, I don't believe in at all, because they just show some glaring flaw. When they lose a game, they show some glaring flaws that I just can't overlook. And I just don't see it. I cannot see that Ravens team winning 3 games to win a championship against really good teams. So it's so NFC heavy that these guys are going to, beat themselves up. So I like that. So let's get on to the games, and it'll kind of build on these storylines here. So we got the games to watch. So Steven, start us off. Give us just give us a game to watch, and then we'll dissect it.
Yeah, so I'm going to mention the game, and I'm going to sound a little Homer-ish because if you're watching right now, you see.
Bro, you live in Georgia, and you're from
right.
Arkansas. You're not a Homer.
Well, right, but I, grew up in Arkansas. The team used to play in St. Louis. Whatever. I don't got time for that anyway. But if you're looking at me right now, I'm wearing Rams gear, so I'm going to mention the Titans-Rams game, but I'm not going to talk about it for the reasons that people probably are assuming based off of that interlude. Right? The Titans. I want to see how this team can adapt and overcome, because the defense has made strides. Last year on CU Sunday, Couch Coach and I and some of the other guests, we talked about how Mike Vrabel is, this accomplished NFL linebacker, but that defense was just awful last season. And this year they added some players, made some changes, some of them shocking, but the defense looks better. And now they lose King Henry. And Jeff, you were talking about how he's your exception, that you don't need like a running back one on a team. I think now is the perfect opportunity to be able to see that, because you've got Brown. Every once in a while you have Julio, and you have enough, right? They bring in Adrian Peterson. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like he's a big needle mover, but there's a whole lot of teams in the NFL that get by with a running back by committee. It's almost, you have to now. You don't really have a whole lot of teams other than Tennessee that has a one running back system. Shoot, Henry was even throwing touchdowns this year, right? So, I mean, he's that big of a cog in this offense that he's even making passing touchdowns now. But I'm interested to see, because, listen, Ryan Tannehill last year, I was heavy on the bandwagon. I'm still a believer in Ryan Tannehill, by the way. It's just, I think that people almost are doing with the NFL now what people have always done with the NBA is you add a star player and you just automatically think year one that everything's going to go according to plan. These dudes still need to figure it out. How many passes before this year has Ryan Tannehill ever thrown to Julio Jones? I preview that information, but I reckon it's not a lot.
And Tannehill's not a plug-and-play quarterback.
He's not.
He runs his team, and that's why he gets better as the season goes on, because he gets more comfortable. He figures things out. He's a really, really good quarterback, but he's not. We talked about let's talk about the guy on the other side of the line of scrimmage. Stafford literally can do anything with anybody. That's the difference in that type of quarterback, as to where throw him in there and he can figure it out so much quicker. Like, okay. Like it didn't take him long to figure out, like, oh, Cooper Kupp can be open on this route, every
Cooper
route.
Kupp is really good.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
And let me throw it to him when he's open. And Tannehill's not quite that quarterback. And the Titans, let's remember, they're the number one seed in the AFC as we speak right now. Yep. I'm going to go the other side of this game, then we'll let Chris go. I want to see it for the other reason. I know the Titans are hurting. This is a game. And we talk about running back by committee. I do want to bring up that works when you have receivers at running back. That typically works better than, I don't know if Peterson. I don't see the holes are going to be there. He's going to probably look better than we think, but I don't know that he gives a receiving threat, and that's typically what a committee helps out. But I want to look at the Rams, because this is a game you guys are playing the best in the league. You guys just added, Miller, just what we talked about, adding a player. That is the contradiction to the rule, Stephen. A defensive player can help day one, because it's, hey, go kill the quarterback. End of story. You don't have nothing. You don't have to design anything fancy. Von Miller is one of the better linebackers / edge rushers.
Edge rush, yeah.
Thinkers. Like it will be seamless. It will not be awkward or any of that. But this is a game that the Rams, hey, if you're telling me you're the best team in the NFL, you've got an injured AFC team that we don't even know if they can win the AFC. You need to squash this team, because this is a team that you absolutely could play in the Super Bowl, this team. So I need to see how the Rams respond to that. I need to see the Rams, beat this team by 10. I don't need it to be a contest and all of those things, because I want to know how good they are. If they do that, then that's the launching pad. So what do you think about this game, Preston?
Well, Jeff, if I could, just before we give it to Chris, it makes me miss Wade Phillips with adding a guy like a Von Miller, because for all the knocks that you could give a Wade Phillips for his head coaching ability, defensive coordinator, super talented guy. Obviously, he worked with Von Miller, but just how creative he could be with edge rushing situations. You could really stack them, all three of these guys, on one side and just overwhelm an offensive line and a quarterback.
Oh yeah, and they will. I think just having Miller there, like, he's going to be a coach on the field. I think it's a great addition, just having his brain. I've always said this about Tom Brady. To add on to that, I always said having Tom Brady in your building makes your defense better, because that guy sees things in a quarterback that no defensive coordinator in the league knows as much about quarterbacks as Tom Brady does. So just having him in the building, in the hallway, makes your defense better. And if you look at Tom Brady's teams that he plays on, look at their defenses and how they treat quarterbacks, and it's real. I mean, that they call him over and say, Tom, what's he going to do when he sees this defense? Tom, what's he going to do? Same thing with Von Miller. Like, hey Von, in Denver, how would you have attacked Tannehill on this play? And he'll go, well, I know what we would have done. And the coordinator, if he's got any sense, is going to go, that's a great idea.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Brilliant. So let's do this. So anyway, go ahead, Prez.
Yeah, this matchup, it's like I said, obviously seeing how the Titans look without, Derrick Henry is to me the biggest thing going into. Obviously, the Rams have been on fire, right? The last 4 games, I think they're averaging 30-some points a game. Stafford is looking like he throws the most beautiful ball, probably it's effortlessly. Like he's throwing 40-yard, passes like it's nothing, right? And we saw that in Detroit, but for some reason in LA, it just looks that much more beautiful because it's LA and it's not Detroit, and
it's contributing to something.
And that's the best looking stadium to watch a game on TV in the NFL right now. It's gorgeous.
It's a beautiful stadium and all that. And I was always with Stafford, I felt like at times he would always get passes because, yes, I know that the Lions were bad and all that, but it felt like he always, it was never his fault. Not saying it was, but he never really got a share of the blame. And I thought he had some blame, some to do with the struggles of them, but obviously,
no, Chris, here's what I've learned this year: that the one player you can't blame is a quarterback. It's never there. It's just pick a wide receiver and blame them. Calvin Johnson was holding Stafford back for 9 years.
I've heard that too. He had to force it to Calvin Johnson. I was like, yeah, why wouldn't you?
No, he didn't. This is a pretty effortless connection between.
I mean, he's 6'5", 240. But whatever. But seeing him with all the talent around him is look good, and obviously they just got Von Miller and all that, but they're clicking right now. I mean, for Tennessee to have a chance, they're going to. I don't know if Tannehill is the quarterback you want throwing the ball 40 times a game, right? I don't think that's his game. Derrick Henry helps a lot, right? That helps in play action, short pass. It brings so much attention. It brings guys into the box. And now you have those one-on-one matchups with A.J. Brown and Julio and all that. That's not going to be there. So, for the Rams, and the Rams defense has been a little up and down, but now Ramsey's not going to have to worry about, going after tackling, now he just got to worry about A.J. Brown. And I think it could be a tough day for the Titans. They still got a good team and all that, but that to me, I think the Rams have everything it takes to take this game and win handily because the offense is just it's clicking and Stafford looks like an MVP candidate right now.
Yeah, no doubt. So I tell you, it's going to be a great game to watch. I can't wait. So my nominee for game I'm going to watch, surprise, is the Browns at Bengals, and for so many reasons. So mainly because you got a 4-4 Browns, you got at the up and coming Bengals, who 2 weeks ago looked like they were the best team in the AFC. Last week looked like they weren't. And this is another game last week. Not that they did enough to lose that game, but they also still should have won it. They should have squeaked that game out. The story is, if they don't call the helmet to helmet, the Bengals win that game. Now, I'm not saying that they should have been in that position, but the Bengals, they didn't. It wasn't even as bad looking as the Titans lost to the Jets. So kudos to the Jets. They only beat good teams. Impressive. So anyway, really it matters in the record because I think if the Browns go to 4-5, that's some real trouble. The Bengals come back to 5-4, then everybody's going to be like, "Oh, is this the same old Bengals?" It's in a good division now. We realize that Pittsburgh's going to trip anybody up. They have the ability to trip these teams up like they did the Browns last week. But mainly, let's be honest here. I'm watching to see how Mayfield responds to this week because I say it every week. I'm like last week I said, the end of that game, this is Mayfield's game. He has to win this game. He's down by 5 to a bad team, loses. It's just like every week it's this running story of this is Mayfield's time. He's got to step up. So now he's got everything he wants. They got rid of OBJ. They got rid of all, he's the problem and all this. And he may be.
Blame Odell, of course. Yeah.
So again, Baker, like, okay, we gave you exactly what you wanted. Like, this is your, like, I know you, like, when the greatest, the big, okay, a little Mayfield rant for a second.
I've
I
been
can't
waiting
stop.
for this. This
The
is why
biggest,
you Sunday. I wanted to hear
I'm
Jeff
here
rant
for it.
about
the
Baker.
biggest
We're
cheer
like the anti-Baker guy, so this is going to be good.
the biggest cheer he gets last week from his home crowd when his team scores 10 points total. His team scored 10 points. Now, this is the fan base that's telling me any week now Baker can turn it on when he needs to. I don't know when they think he needs to, but I thought last week he needed to. So he runs for a first down. It was a cool little scramble, gets knocked out of bounds, slides into the bench, and then gets up and celebrates like, he had just clinched a playoff game. The fans go crazy. And I'm like, that's the exact problem right there. Like, he should have been a running back. I don't know what.
A wide receiver. He's a diva.
He wouldn't be in the NFL if that was the case.
Yeah, but it's just, my point is that he's just never seems to be focused on the situation that he's in. And today's quarterbacks have to be so hyper focused on the pre-snap and the defenses and all that. And this guy really, really thinks he does something when he scrambles for imagine, just let's imagine this. We'll go across his division. Imagine if Lamar Jackson got that excited and celebrated every time he was down in a game and ran for a first down, which he probably does 5 times a game. Like, people would go, what are you doing? Like, he would look like a clown. But it's just this Mayfield-itis that these folks have. So basically, they got everything you wanted, and he's looking. This is another matchup. So for a long time, I've been trying to really get on, the other on board with this. Like, we talk about quarterbacks too much thing. And then I watch what happens when a quarterback gets hurt and the team just goes to shambles. The quarterback, they're so important and so, irreplaceable right now that I'm going to talk about the quarterbacks. So now Baker has got to look across the sidelines, and he's got the up and coming Joe Burrow, who is light years better. Like, I live in Baker/Burrow country. Like, I live in the heart of it. I know what both fan bases think. I have conversations about it all the time with people to try to get their input. Browns fans will tell you, like, we don't want anybody but Baker. They also know that Burrow is a way better quarterback coming. He's got more tools. Like, they see the writing on the wall. So this is a game that not only can the Browns not lose because of, like, real world stuff, Baker cannot look worse than Joe Burrow in this game. And one thing he definitely can't do is get housed by Joe Burrow in this game like Lamar Jackson did a few weeks ago. Jackson can handle it. Like, Jackson's just he's got a better control of his team, better control of the offense and all that. He's at a different level because he's winning. Baker doesn't have that cachet now, and he doesn't have OBJ there to blame. So to me, the Browns versus Bengals is one of the most interesting games probably in Ohio in a long time. There's so many storylines and things to watch, and I can literally hear the fans go at it. I can't wait for this one. So, Perez, go ahead, man. Browns Bengals. It's got to be weird to care about this and live in New York City. I don't even understand it.
You're right, though, because this is a game that I'm very intrigued about because, I mean, they ship, all right, so they get rid of Odell Beckham, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's the problem. He's this, he's that. And if you watch, and it's been going around, like, even like NFL DBs are like, he's getting open. Baker's not getting him the football. And it's been that way. And it's been crazy how, like, ever since they added Odell, right? That's all. They get Odell, they get Jarvis Landry. And I'm not been a big Jarvis Landry guy. I think he's kind of overrated. Like, I don't think
he's okay.
He's okay. He's solid, but he's not like, I think his name.
He's a good, like, his second or third receiver.
I think better than what his production is on the field. But that was supposed to take them over the top, right? They added Austin Hooper. I mean, and all this stuff, and
all pro tight end.
It doesn't. He's clearly the problem. He doesn't have it, right?
He's clearly that's the thing. He's clearly
the problem, but
clearly.
And this is what I hate, and the Giants did this too with Odell too, right? They kind of blamed him. Meanwhile, Eli just wasn't it. And it's, I'm an Odell guy, so maybe that's just me talking with my heart. But blaming Odell and thinking he was the problem is just doesn't make the problem is the quarterback. And like you mentioned, Jeff, that play he had where he goes for the first down, gets hit out of bounds, and he's going rah, 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 and does nothing. 10 points, right? I just wonder if I know it's not a home game, but when they get back playing a home game in Cleveland, if the fans finally turn on him. And I think they kind of are a little bit, but
this would be the game.
Full, like Spencer Rattler turn, like where they just full out, because you can't be. This isn't. They went to the playoffs last year, right? And you thought, okay, maybe the run game, and we talk about the run game and running backs. They have maybe the best ones who do. I know they're hurt right now, but you think, all right, if Baker's just
best 1-2-3 duo based on what we saw the past couple weeks, right?
If he's just average with the run game and the defense they got, they got maybe the defensive player of the year, adding Clowney and all that, like they could be a serious, but he's holding them back. Yes. He's holding them back. He's not it. And there's a reason why they didn't give him an extension yet. There's a reason. It's all this, and now they have to figure out, will we franchise him? Like, is he truly a franchise? And it goes back to why he was even the first pick in the draft. Like, it was kind of shocking, right? When he was number one, people were like, wait, Baker's number one pick? Like I was even like, okay, all right, maybe I don't get it, but and then get the rookie season, and then he's fell off since. So like
he doesn't do anything special. He doesn't have one
traits other than like I'm a rah guy, and like and I think the Oklahoma, right? He played at Oklahoma, right? So like we all know Big 12, all that. I think it got kind of he does. It's like Kyler Murray, right? At least Kyler Murray's short and all that, but Kyler Murray is a special athlete, right? Yes. And has an arm, right? So even though he's 5'9", 10, he has special traits that can cover up his height. Yep. With Baker, it's like he doesn't have a great arm, right? Doesn't have a lot of doesn't have a nice fastball with himself. And he's not a great athlete. He's not a great athlete, so he can't get around the corner. So it's like, what does he really do, especially in the cold? And it gets cold. It's going to get cold. So it's like, what does he do that's special? And it's like nothing. It's nothing. So
not one special thing. It's crazy. There's so many things. Like he is. I promise you, anybody that has a chance to do it, go watch Baker in the all 22 camera, and it really jumps off the page of what he misses out there. When you're looking at the offense. So I can't wait to see this game. It's exciting. Steven, I know we're hurting your feelings here. You love Baker Mayfield. So tell us why we're wrong.
You're not. And it's just, I've been saying it all year long. It's so nice to hear that I'm not the only person that has not been a Baker Mayfield guy. Last year, all I was doing, I was just becoming the most hated man among the Cleveland Browns fan base. And it's just funny how, people are kind of coming around to see what I was seeing, but it's just, y'all have hit everything on the head. And the one thing I want to talk about with the Odell Beckham scenario is that the first thing, and even some of the guys in our own network have pointed out, is like, oh, but he drops everything. Like, and here's the thing. You don't have to live in extremes. You don't have to say that Baker Mayfield is the worst quarterback in the NFL because he's having a bad year. He's not. He's about, maybe anywhere from that 15 to 18 to 19 range in the NFL. And that's a fine place to be. The problem with him being at that spot is the hype that goes around him, the way that he carries himself. And I'm a big proponent of the mindset. You have to think that you're better than everybody else. But when everybody else is thinking that same thing, that's the problem. When people who have a say in the narrative around a Baker Mayfield kind of play along with his own, inner machinations of his mind, that's where I have an issue. When we sit here and say, oh, Odell Beckham, or, Odell Beckham's the problem, he's dropping everything. You guys realize he's not even top 10 in his own conference, not the NFL, in his own conference, and drop passes. Not even top 10. So what are we doing here talking about Odell Beckham? You know what I'm saying?
Scapegoat. He was a scapegoat because I think they're all in. They're stuck on with Baker. So like they're like, all right, we have to figure out who else to blame. And like, oh, it's Odell. Let's get rid of Odell. And it's like they know the problem. They just can't say that he's the problem because
yeah.
What's the alternative? They have no alternative.
and we're not going to do it on this show, but like there's a lot of factors into the Baker versus Odell thing, and we all know what they are.
I mean,
And
let's go there just for a second, Jeff.
Okay.
Let's talk about Antonio Brown. Let's talk about how this dude wore himself, his welcome out in Pittsburgh, and then he goes to Oakland, right? Or was it Vegas at the time? I think it was still Oakland. Called that the people over there racist, and what are we seeing now? And then he goes,
lo and behold,
he wasn't as crazy as we thought.
Wasn't as still maybe a little bit out there, but not to the extreme that everyone. And that's all I want to point out is like it's not the extreme. It's not that Odell Beckham is literally dropping everything. That couldn't be further from the truth. He has drops. Every wide receiver does, but
of course,
obviously Baker Mayfield is not the absolute worst quarterback in the NFL. But when we talk about living up to the hype that has surrounded him with his commercials, or with the his celebrations on the field, or the fact that we can't criticize a number 1 overall draft pick, that part has always bothered me.
He's trying to get that Aaron Rodgers hall pass, and I mean that he's really trying to get it to where.
But even Aaron Rodgers wasn't a number 1 overall pick.
Oh, I know. It takes a while to earn it. Baker's trying to get it early.
Yeah, and he tries to get even.
What have we done?
Let's stick with the Green Bay quarterback system. He almost gets like this Brett Favre treatment where he's like, oh, he plays with such joy and passion and everything else, and a childlike love for the game. Like, dude, this is a business. He is not living up to his end of the deal.
And they'll kill Odell for, like, if Odell was when he used to celebrate, they killed him. They killed him for it. And
stick with Lamar Jackson.
And I'm not the biggest Odell as a pure football fan. Like, I won't sit here and act like, oh, he does it all. But here's what I will say about Odell Beckham. He did everything last year that they asked. He sacrificed everything. He knew his quarterback. He knew, like, I'm sure after he saw him throw a couple passes in practice, he was like, okay, I'm not going to have 100 receptions. But he sold out. Him and Landry both did everything they could. And as far as dropping balls, I equate it to, like, say you're sitting on the couch and out of nowhere somebody tosses you a beer. Sometimes it hits you because you don't know they're going to throw it. Odell probably never thinks Baker's actually going to throw the ball. He's probably surprised as part of it. But
his
Odell
first 2 reads are to hand the football off.
Odell did everything he was asked to do on that team last year, and he gets zero credit for it. All they can talk about is drops, because that's just, I'll just put it out there. It's just when I talk to, like, I shouldn't say real. I hate being condescending. When I talk to Cleveland fans who I respect and, really watch the game and think it out, they actually don't think that. It's your fans that, watch them and they watch the media, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like them too, but that's where that narrative builds up. Football people, like you guys touched on it, really don't think that Odell has that many drops, and it is the problem. So Odell, he's kept his mouth shut through all this. I want him to start scorching the earth after he gets on another team. I really do, because I think that he did what they told him he should do, and it would work. And then they still turned him into the same player that was attacking the kicking nets in New York, and they still villainize him for it. Meanwhile, they've got a quarterback out there that, like, why are we not saying why is he not getting Patrick Mahomes is having actually statistically outside of the interceptions a really good season. But it's been a bad season because of the losses and the interceptions.
Killed.
The first thing people do is kill him. Too many commercials. Your wife, your brother, and all this. Baker and his wife make commercials. Like, there's no production. Here's what I noticed this week: the Jets quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks to a rookie for the New York Jets have, I believe, 7 touchdown passes in the last 2 games they've played. Baker has 6 all year.
6. Jeff, say that again. Say that number again.
6.
6.
Josh Johnson had 3 the other night. Josh Johnson, my man, Josh Johnson. But
6 touchdowns to 3 interceptions.
And shout out to Josh Johnson, man. There's nothing that makes me happier outside of starting quarterbacks than the hang around lifetime backup quarterback, black quarterback. I love it, because that is true progress. You know what I mean? Josh Johnson is true progress. And I'm being honest. Like,
oh no,
like,
I love it. I love it.
Man, Josh is my man. That dude, I tell you what, his first couple of years, like, he would kill it on Madden. I'm just saying, that dude had abilities. Great to watch in college too. But my point is, these guys, Mike White steps in, and he's got 5 touchdown passes. No, I believe it's 8. I believe the Jets have 8 touchdown
I
passes.
mean, Jared Goff got 8 touchdowns
Mike-
on an 0-8 team.
Yo,
Like,
Mike
at least he
White.
has an excuse because their team's garbage. What's Baker's excuse?
Well, so is Jared Goff, but I mean, that's neither
No,
here nor
and I
there.
know Jared Goff isn't great, but like at least he's on a really bad team.
But
doesn't
Jared
have the
Goff
weapons.
doesn't. Jared Goff doesn't tell anybody he's great. Nobody tells me Jared Goff is great.
And the team is
in
performing
the
up
one
to
pick,
their
too.
expectations. I mean, being honest.
And so I'm just saying it just kills me. Like someone on my Twitter last week got a great line. They said Mike White, because I called him a creative player because I
Yeah, I
didn't know who
saw
he was.
that. Yep.
And they said, yeah, he's a creative player before you change the name.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you said what was it like generic pocket passer?
Generic pocket passer, Mike White. But anyway, Mike White's got 5 touchdown passes. That's all I'm saying.
in like a game and a half, and Baker played every game.
I know. Oh, in here, Browns fans, let me save you the trouble. I know because you run the ball, blah blah blah. You had 10 points last week. If you had 30 points last week and Baker doesn't throw a touchdown, I don't care. You had 10. You could have used a touchdown pass last week. That's all I'm saying. All right, Perez, you nominate a game to watch this week, and then we'll destroy
Honestly,
it. Like
I think we talked about the game. I mean that Browns Bengals game is intriguing because I think not that this is it for Baker, but like it's getting to that point because they got rid of the distraction in Odell. So like let's see let's see what you could do now with without Odell and all that. And so but another game, I mean, if I had to pick another game to Carolina, New England.
I like
New England is something because the Patriots. I mean, Mac Jones has McCorkle's been
McCorkle.
McCorkle might be the best looking rookie quarterback.
Oh, but it's not even close.
And I think it's not even close. And like
he's played a top half of the league quarterback this year. He's played really well.
Played solid football. I mean, we've seen the struggles of all the rookie quarterbacks, and obviously the situations are different. We've seen Justin Fields go through his ups and downs, but to me, that's a whole offense, and Matt Nagy and all
organizational
that.
problem.
Lawrence is with Urban down in Florida, and we know how that's gone so far over there in Jacksonville. So McCorkle has been in the best position, the Panthers, I know they're going through like a little weird phase. I mean, they started off good, and Darnold looked really great, and I was like, oh, they finally got out of the Jets, and now I don't know if he's going to play. I know, and he's had interception prones again, and it's kind of looked like what he looked like with the Jets. But I'm just interested to see if the Patriots just come out and just run over them. And I think this could be, I think it's in Carolina, but still, I still think I don't think McCaffrey's going to go. I think he's still a week away. The wide receivers, Robbie Anderson's been a huge disappointment for the Panthers. And so I'm willing to see. I think this could be a game where the Patriots can take a step forward and be a serious playoff team, where early on, and it's crazy. They've lost, I think they already lost 4 home games. They probably haven't lost 4 home games in the last 15 years of Tom Brady, especially in the regular season. So to me, this is an interesting matchup. I want to see how the Patriots look. I think they could dominate this game because the Panthers just seem like they're wounded, and especially I think PJ Walker is going to start at quarterback for the Panthers. So XFL legend. So I think I'm looking forward to see how the Patriots do because they could definitely take a step forward and look like a legit playoff team, right? So I'm looking forward to that matchup.
Yeah, I agree. This is a big game for to see, but like it's one of my storylines. This is which one of these teams is going to take that step forward. Steven, what do you think about this game?
I mean, Stephon Gilmore revenge game. Anybody?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you have that whole.
Stephon wants to do some stuff with get some picks because Belichick likes trading everyone. So there's always a revenge game for ex-Patriots who get traded by Belichick.
I mean, is Stephon Gilmore up against a rookie quarterback? He still has a whole another half of the field that he can work with though against this this Panthers defense, but. It's going to be interesting, and I'll be the first one to admit, obviously I was kind of leading the charge against the McCorkle being a first-round talent this year. I still don't know. I still have my reservations on, is it really him, or is it just the fact that he went to probably the best situation possible for him going to New
He's
England.
playing
He's
pretty
playing
good
really well. I'm
football.
not trying to take.
He looks solid.
He looks like a really good quarterback. So I'll leave it at that. But I mean, that's a fair game. I think the NFC South is kind of opening up a little bit more than what it was. I mean, still you still have the Bucks there. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like the Bucks are probably not the class of that.
I think they're waiting for the
division
playoffs.
anymore.
The Bucks. I think they're in playoff mode already. Like,
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, we'll probably see them start taking more of a lead against that. But still, that wild card spot could be open for one of these teams. And I mean, if you look at the NFC South right now, the Saints are 5-2, the Panthers are 4-4, and the Falcons are 3-4. So if the Panthers get to that 5-4 territory, start stringing some wins together, they're already coming off of a win right now. So trying to establish momentum, and Jeff, you opened up the show with that. Establishing momentum at this point in the season is important, right? Because it's all fine and good if you start the season off 10-0, like say the Pittsburgh Steelers did last year, right? But the last half of the season probably has a little bit more added weight and value in terms of how your team is performing. You don't want to enter a playoff scenario where you're on the decline. You want to hit the season in stride at the right moment. And that's where we can start seeing some of these teams here, like, the Panthers or the Patriots. Do they start establishing themselves within their own divisions first, and then, obviously up against their conference?
Yeah, I think the most competitive game coming to is the Purple Bowl, the Ravens-Vikings game. It's Vikings. They're in Baltimore. The last time we saw Baltimore, they looked terrible, but we've seen them look great. It's weird. They need to figure something out on offense. Hollywood Brown can't be your go-to wide receiver for Lamar. He's made more mistakes than people think, even though he's doing a good job. I know the potential's there, but it's also I need to see less Lamar pouting on the sideline after punts and misplays and stuff. And I need to see more of him, the San Diego or the Los Angeles Chargers game, Lamar. The Vikings are I think the Vikings are pretty much out of the playoff hunt if they lose this game. And I think they're a good team. I don't think they want to be. I think this is the most even game on the entire schedule. So I'm definitely watching the Ravens. I'll be watching it anyway, because I live with a Ravens fan, but definitely a game to watch.
The Vikings are they're so tough to figure out,
right?
Because you look at their team and the roster, you're like, this team is on paper, this team should be, on the class of the division, right? Of the NFC North.
Oh, yeah.
They're just disappointed. Like the Cowboys game was their opportunity to just take that game. Everyone was like, all right, the Cowboys are going to lose. Cooper Rush there, and then they just fall flat on their face against the Cowboys. Like, that's inexcusable. And it was in Minnesota. So it's like, how do you let that happen? This is your chance to, all right, take a step forward to get in the playoffs, and you let Cooper Rush. It's just unacceptable. And I feel like if they lose this game and they continue to go down, spiral, I think Zimmer's on the hot seat.
Oh, I think it's
been that way for the past couple seasons.
I think they would have to win a playoff game to keep Zimmer's job, and not just lose one.
They may be tuning him out because he's one of those coaches, hard-nosed coaches, and he's been around for a little bit now. And maybe we all know how those type of coaches are. They wear out a team, and maybe this is the case where he's just wearing them out, and it's just time for a change. But if they continue to go, I think it's definitely on the hottest of hot seats if they lose.
He'll be a fine defensive coordinator somewhere.
Oh, he's an elite defensive coordinator. We saw them in Cincinnati, what he did, right, as a defensive coordinator and all that. So that might be his role, but I think this is going.
Nothing wrong with that, man. We talk about quarterbacks, like it's okay that you're not the upper echelon quarterback. You gotta live in the area that you can contribute in. And same thing with coaches, man. Wade Phillips, I was talking about him earlier. As a head coach, not that dude. As a defensive coordinator, anybody would be crazy not to want him on their team.
It's just two different jobs.
Coaches that are defensive they're coordinators, right?
Well, I mean, let's look at it this way. If Sean McVay's got the Vikings roster, they're not 3-4 with the talent they have. I think the Vikings have a really, 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 really good chance of winning this game. I don't think I'm going to pick them, but I need to see Lamar. He's so frustrating because he is so talented, and there's absolute greatness within him that his coaches need to bring out. And he's doing great. The kid is still, let's keep in mind, Lamar Jackson is still younger than Joe Burrow even. Lamar Jackson is a baby in quarterback years, and he's doing great. I have no worries about him for the future, but
without any real weapons other than
I need to see him start taking baby steps though, because the talent's there, but I need to see him start taking baby steps.
Bateman getting healthy helps him a lot because he was finding Rashad Bateman, who they drafted.
Yes.
He found them a lot last week, and I know Bateman's questionable
Speaking of Minnesota,
game, but I think getting him healthy is huge because they just have Hollywood Brown right now.
I am not,
and Andrews.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I am not against the Ravens getting OBJ. I think that would be I think that would be a receiver that could be like, he would see the talent in Lamar and go, because Lamar can make all the throws. That's the difference.
Yeah, he has.
And so he can see the talent in Lamar, and I think he could be like, dude, trust me, I will. Like he kind of if OBG, I keep calling him. I apologize. If Odell decides that he wants to be, he can be a version of Steve Smith that we got, to where he knows how to play the game so well. He knows where he can get open. He can tell he's quarterback. Trust me, I will be there, throw the ball. I can find that hole in the zone and blah, blah, blah. I honestly think that he could be a good pickup for this team if it's the Beckham that I think we have now. So I'm not against
offense, dude. It would be a super fast offense with OBJ. I love that fit. There's about 5 teams that I think that he would be super good on, and Baltimore being one of them.
Yeah, I think that Lamar, he could really, really get a lot out of Lamar Jackson. So yeah, just in general, I'm cutting, it's the NFL. We're watching these, games with teams like, you brought up the Saints. The Saints, if they can win, they don't have Winston. They're not going to have Winston. So that's, that's weird. You're going to be watching at the Falcons if they go
Phillip Rivers, maybe.
That'd be a good spot if the Falcons get to 4-4. They're not dead yet.
Kids. He got too many kids.
Yeah, you got time.
I find that pretty offensive. I still do work with.
You're not at his number though, Steven. I hope you don't get to that number for your sake, for your psyche. I hope you don't get to that number.
And then the Bills ought to squash the Jaguars, Dolphins, Texans, nobody cares. Raiders,
Jeff,
Giants.
I got one more that I think is a really good one to watch, and I'll keep it NFC West. That Arizona 49ers game, I think has a lot of implications, right?
Kittle's back too for the 49ers too.
Do what now?
Getting healthy.
George Kittle's playing.
Oh, Kittle. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the Cardinals are trying to figure out, what to do with all these weapons on the offensive end. Adding Zach Ertz is a huge get. They didn't really give up a whole lot to get him. And Kyler Murray, that health aspect is one of the areas that I want to focus in on too, because for all the knocks that we can give the 49ers, injury concerns, things like that on their end too, defensively, they still have the horses to be able to get it done. Right. And so you don't want the wrong guy on San Francisco with an open lane to Kyler Murray, or that would spell trouble. Right. And, San Francisco coming off of a win against Chicago is a big win. Right. So again, Jeff, that momentum aspect, I think that, 49ers win this game. The complexion of that NFC West looks a lot different. And then overall, maybe even for the entire NFC, depending on what the outcome of that matchup looks like. So that's another one, kind of a sleeper game, if you will, between those two.
No. I think that's an important one. I think for everything you said, this is a big deal for the Cardinals. This can be a game that can honestly change their season because of everything you said. The 49ers will beat you up. They haven't played to their potential. I'm kind of over giving them a break every week, but that doesn't mean that they're still not a physical team. That doesn't mean that, my man Fred's not out there running around, wrecking fools. You're right. This is one of those to where if Kyler Murray makes one wrong decision, it could shorten his season. I think that's a real problem. So you always got to watch these divisions.
Is he playing? I know he's like super questionable. Like,
yeah,
I
don't think it's confirmed yet.
I
They
think
probably won't till game time.
if I'm San Francisco, I don't want if I'm Arizona, I don't want anybody knowing when I'm going to be starting Kyler Murray. I don't want
you wait till the last second.
So if he does play, even if he doesn't play, you're not going to know till last minute. But especially if he does play, you're going to kind of keep that mystery hidden, because you don't want anyone with a full week of preparation against a Kyler Murray who may still be, kind of nursing an injury.
Yeah.
For sure.
I agree. And one thing about that, I'm tired of giving Kyle Shanahan passes too. He's another one.
He's an offensive genius.
He gets way too many passes. Like, there's always excuses. All right, oh well, they got all these injuries and all that, but it's like, okay.
Last season it was a lot of injuries.
He hasn't really done anything with his teams, and he has talent. This is a talented squad on both sides of the football. So like, he gets too many passes to Kyle Shanahan. I know he's a boy genius, and his dad was a two-time Super Bowl champion coach, but it's time to stop giving him passes, because he gets way too many passes to him.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think his run's coming to an end unless they do something, towards the end of the year. But who knows? All right, so now we've covered a lot of games. Really decent week in the NFL once you really talk it out. Better than college football this week. College football
even
this week.
Thursday, Baltimore short turnaround against Miami.
Yeah. I mean, the short turnarounds are never good. Who knows? Miami's I don't even have time to get into that dumpster fire. Matt, you talk about making mistakes in drafting. Wow. Across the board with them guys. So this week, instead of the pick 6, we're doing the Shooter's Pick 5. And this is the Shooter Shoot Basketball on the offtheballnetwork.com. He does his 5 games to watch every week. And so go there, go to offtheballnetwork.com, check out Kenneth's page. And he's got a much better breakdown. He's got the point spreads and all this about these games, but we are just going to pick them as our pick'ems this week. So we've talked about most of these games. There's, the 5th game we may talk about a little bit after we pick it if we have time. Number 1, Patriots versus Panthers. Steven, who you got?
I like the Patriots. I just think that they're finding their stride a little bit better. Carolina opened up the season. Chris, as you so eloquently stated earlier, that they looked like they were doing something, and now they're almost in a bit of an identity crisis. Quarterback changes. Jeff, you pointed out that's the most important position on the football field. The Patriots have less questions, in my opinion, than the Panthers, and with less questions, that means more certainty. More certainty equals victory, in my opinion, with the Patriots.
Nice. Prez.
Agree. I'm on the same boat. I think Patriots are clicking. Panthers just too inconsistent. Darnold's probably not playing. No CMC most likely. So I think the Patriots come in to Carolina to take care of business and to keep rolling.
Wow, this is breaking news that CMC is not playing a game. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did that just happen? Did we just find that out? Or?
Everything I've been reading, he's still super questionable, but I don't see him playing.
He's not playing.
Most likely he's another week away, but he could make his recovery and play, but most likely he's not going to play. So, I mean, that's a huge – and we've seen how they look without him. They don't look good at all without him, especially Darnold. He's been awful without CMC, but I'm just – from what I'm reading, looks like he's probably out another week. Yeah.
He's a running back. He's not playing. I got the Patriots too. You guys touched on it. They're just clicking right now. Kind of figured it out. They know what to do with Mac Jones. Feels like the relationship's there. So I think this particular week it's a bad matchup. Patriots win. Number 2, we talked about it just a second ago. Vikings at Ravens. Steven, who you got?
I like the Ravens. I just think that their defense is still questionable to me as far as what they're doing this season, but I think Minnesota still has that same, uncertainty. I think that when it comes down to this matchup, is which quarterback do I trust more in a big moment? And I think that we have seen Lamar Jackson, despite all of his flaws that people want to put out, despite, the fact that he hasn't won a Super Bowl yet this young in his career, he's an MVP. I think that with the game on the line, I trust Lamar Jackson way more than I trust Kirk Cousins, as evident as last week even, if you can point that out, right? So I think that Lamar Jackson, he's just going to do too much on the football field, whether it be with his arm or his legs. He still has Mark Andrews. I don't know of any linebacker on Minnesota who's going to be able to keep up, or even a safety who's going to be able to keep up with Andrews. And ultimately, I think that it's going to be that Jackson-Andrews connection that's going to carry them to victory.
Fair enough. Prez.
Part of me wants to take the Vikings, but I don't trust them. Dalvin's been another running back that's been hurt.
You guys make my job so easy.
Yeah, and we should do a show just on running backs and how we truly feel about them, and that would be a fun show to do.
You mean that all of a sudden Jonathan Taylor's the best running back in the league?
Yeah,
I like Jonathan Taylor.
He's good.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Though, like that's where we're at now.
Yeah,
you would never see a season start and then 8 weeks in we've boosted. Now all of a sudden
Derek Carr is the quarterback.
Derek Carr's head
the
and shoulders
quarterback. Yeah.
That's
I know.
just how
I
this thing
know what you're
works.
saying. Yeah.
Never.
But I'm going to go with the Ravens here. I think they take care of business. I think Lamar has a solid game. I think Mark Andrews does what he does on a weekly basis. I think they take care of it. But like I said, the Vikings, man, they're just heckle and jive. Like you don't know what you're going to get with them. They could win this game by 20, but then they could lose this game in a heartbreaking fashion. So
real quick, I don't know if I've ever read the Heckle and Jive book.
Yeah, I caught that too. I didn't want to say
whatever that saying is. I don't know.
Jekyll and Hyde.
I think it's Jekyll and Hyde.
There you go.
Talk about even more of an identity crisis, though. Like,
No,
I love it. We're keeping it. That's a Heckle and Jive. That's a Heckle and Jive situation. I'm going Vikings, and for this reason, the Ravens get exposed by the big play passing game. And you got Jefferson coming in and Cousins. Yeah. That's the one thing they do. Jefferson's going to call his Jamar Chase up in Cincinnati and be like, dude, you had 200. What'd you do? And Jamar's going to be like, well, this is what I did, because Jamar's going to want to help them beat the Ravens. And so I think Jefferson is that. I don't think the Ravens have an answer for Thielen or Jefferson. I really think that it could get away from them again. It's a real problem. The Ravens defensive backs, they're always banged up. I think they're going to get exposed. I think the health issues of the Ravens, the lack of talent, or the lack of, big play, guys and everything, I think it's all going to get exposed this week. They don't have a running back. I mean, the Ravens are really holding this thing together, by fishing
paper
line and duct tape
and
at this point. Yeah. I got the Vikings just because I just think they're just in a better situation right now. So number 3, Browns Bengals. This is actually a pretty good one. Steven, you go first, man. You're the biggest Browns fan here, so you tell us.
Despite the fandom that I do have with the Cleveland Browns, I'm going to have to put my bias aside and pick the Cincinnati Bengals. I just think that the connection between Burrow, Chase, T. Higgins is probably due for a big game this week as well. Joe Mixon at the running back spot. I mean, the biggest question to me with Cincinnati is can their defense stop an offense? Well, I mean, right now, could you, as far as teams that you hear are contenders to some degree, could you have a better matchup than a team that only put up 10 points against Pittsburgh the previous week? I mean, that in my opinion, like, now all of a sudden doubt is surrounding Cincinnati because, hey, that they're a football team and they lost a game in 1 week. I mean, that never happens in the NFL. What better way to bounce back than a team that has kind of an identity crisis right now with Cleveland? So with, again, less questions equals more certainty equals victory. I'm riding with Cincy this week.
Nice. Prez.
Simple. Yeah, I'm going with Cincy. I think they bounce back. That Jets loss is, that one's that was not a good loss.
Look at what Tennessee did after they lost to the Jets.
Yeah, Tennessee. We see how Tennessee has bounced back after that Jets loss, and I think they bounce back big time, and they take care of business. I think Cleveland's just, like I said, identity crisis. They don't, running backs are banged up. No OBJ now. I think Cincinnati bounce back and have a big day, and they take care of business. So I'm going to go with Cincinnati.
Yeah, I got Cincinnati too. I think they're a better football team, top to bottom. I think if these teams play 10 times, Cincinnati wins 7 or 8 of them. I just think they're in a better position. They got a better quarterback, just a better receivers. Like, there's really not one phase of the game. Well, defensive line. Cleveland's got a better defense line. Cleveland's offensive line's great. Cincinnati is not. Cincinnati won't get to Mayfield. I doubt it. But I think they'll clog the lanes. Their linebackers are pretty quick. Defensive backs have been playing faster. I think it's a bad matchup for Baker. I got Cincinnati winning pretty handily. Honestly, I think
over under 1.5 touchdowns for him.
Over.
Does he get 2?
Oh, for Baker? Under.
Yeah.
Under.
I'll say. Yeah, I'll go with under. I want to say over because I think that they might be junk touchdowns, but I don't even think he gets those. I think this could be a game.
Screen passes.
I will go so far as to say this is a game that by the fourth quarter, there is a lot of talk about what's wrong in Cleveland. I'll go so far as to say that I think that's what's going to happen here. I think this sets up for a bad, just everything. I really think by the end of this game, you've got a dejected Mayfield. You've got guys shaking their heads. You've got all these things. I honestly think that's the kind of game we're going to have.
I'm feeling like a 17-point victory in this matchup, Jeff. Truth be told.
Yeah, I don't like this at all for the Browns, but we'll see. We'll see. They've stepped up before, and proved me wrong. So, number 4, we talked about it. The Cardinals and 49ers. I do not know if Murray's playing or not, so I guess just pick it based on your best guess.
I'm still going to rock with the Cardinals, despite I just think that the talent that they have on the offensive side of the ball is overwhelming. Defensively, I know that they lost J.J. White. I still believe that this defense is good enough to get it done against the Niners. And there's questions coming out of San Francisco as well. So I'm going to be rocking with the Cardinals. I think that their offense, even if Murray is out, they just have too much they have too much for the other team to account for on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm still going to go with Arizona.
Briz.
I'm going with the upset. I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to go.
I was going to pick the upset.
I'm going to go with the upset. I've gone chalk here. I think Murray, being really banged up. Their wide receiver, AJ Green's out. Hopkins, I think, is also questionable too. So they're banged up right now. They really are banged up. And I think the 49ers are getting healthy at the right spot. And I think they could sneak up on Arizona. Tough loss to the Packers last week. I think the 49ers, Debo's played great. He's shown some really breakout ability. I think Garoppolo gets the job done. Even though I'm not a big Garoppolo guy, I think they take care of business. I think they get the upset. Warner is a monster on defense. He's all over the field. Last week, it feels like he's just one of those dudes always around the football. Like Seaball, Seaball get the ball, and that's just him. And that's what I love about him. He's the best linebacker in football, I believe.
He's approaching Aaron Donald for best defensive player in the league.
He's giving you those,
in my opinion,
Bobby Wagner, Luke Kuechly type vibes at that linebacker.
Kuechly is a great comparison.
Very Kuechly-like. Bobby
Smart,
Wagner, guys who are always around the football. Like you don't know how they get there.
Defensive quarterbacks, man.
Yeah, and he's good in coverage. He's good in the run game. He's what you want in a linebacker, right? We see the days of the thumpers are kind of gone with linebackers, and you need to be able to drop back in coverage and stop the run, and he could do that. And he's a phenomenal linebacker. So I think he has a big game too, and I think the 49ers take care of business and they pull off the upset over Arizona.
Yeah, I'm with Perez on this one. I got San Francisco. Arizona only won by 7 at home the last time these two teams met. I think I already said I have doubts about Murray's health. I don't necessarily know that an Arizona loss in this game means doom and gloom. I just think San Francisco is it's just kind of, you get the gut feeling they're at home. That's a weird place to play just because of the weather and so many different things. I just think this is one of those to where Arizona just gets got. San Francisco looks better for a week, and then things will probably right to ship in like 3 weeks. So I got San Francisco winning. So
and to y'all's point, this game has a lot more weighing on it for San Francisco than it does Arizona.
They need it more. Yeah, they do need it. Even though Arizona could be in second place, by next week because them and the Rams are just going back at it,
Yeah.
for place and all that. And,
Yeah, you don't want to drop any games in this division. That's what I think. This is kind of 49ers' last stand. This is it. I don't give them much chance now, but this is definitely it. They have to win this one. The last game, this is interesting. We're going to talk about Packers Chiefs real quick before we get out of here. We're going to pick it. We may touch on it. So Packers Chiefs. Packers are without Aaron Rodgers because
reasons.
Reasons.
I'll start off saying we're all going to pick the Chiefs. I think. I'll give you guys a chance, but it's obvious that when your Hall of Fame quarterback, the most important player on your team's not there, and you're playing against the Chiefs who desperately need a win. I'm taking the Chiefs in this one. The Chiefs are a flawed team. I don't see them making, a run at the division. I think they're going to make the playoffs. Their defense is rough. Andy Reid's coaching style, his teams always just get I think that his teams have fun and they like playing for Andy Reid, but I think it's also kind of easy. And this team looks like a team that just doesn't have the importance, that other teams have in the league. And that's how I feel about it. I watched the Eagles go through it for years. I guarantee you that, let's say it happens this season when Andy Reid's gone or gets fired or however it's going to go down. Every player on the team is going to tell you how much they love him. They wouldn't play for anybody else. That doesn't mean that he's getting exposed for some of his coaching flaws that he's had for years, how I feel about the Chiefs. But I do think they win this game and keep themselves alive. And then I think the Packers, I don't think the Aaron Rodgers drama of the week really weighs on him that much because I don't think players get caught up in it like fans and the media do. But I do think that there is something to the fact that I don't care what Aaron Rodgers' reasons were, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. What he did, he's not on the field for a team's game because of choices he made above the team's best interest. And I said it in the summer when he did it that hurt the team. I said it, all fall. Now he's not in a game. And if they lose a game, it'll be directly because Aaron Rodgers made a personal decision against the team's wishes that cost him a football game. So that's what I'll say about it. So, Steven, Chiefs.
So,
Packers,
a couple
Chiefs.
different ways I could go on that. Jeff, you did a really good job of just kind of putting it all out there, man. I'll stick with the Aaron Rodgers aspect of it first. Let's not forget that this team has neglected him to some degree as far as building around him, because now we're finally getting to see the debut of their number 1 overall draft pick from a few seasons back in Love, again, because of the decisions that Rodgers made. But here we could be seeing Rodgers play with another wide receiver, a talented running back, maybe a better, linebacker on their field, because they just made a cut at linebacker this past week too, right? So I understand that this is not just a one-off decision from Aaron Rodgers. At the same time, though, this isn't him just like, oh, okay, like things are fine and dandy in Green Bay. And so I take the action and put it to the side. That's kind of a divisive conversation depending on who you are, and I agree with that. But let's just say he made another decision, right? That wasn't what it is, and it took him away from the football field. I think that people would feel differently because they would say, well, look at what Green Bay hasn't done for him so far.
But that's, that I think that's a cop-out.
I know that you do, but
here's what I'll say about it.
I think that there are enough people that if it wasn't for the reason that it is, I think there would be more people at his defense.
No. And here's I want to clarify. Here's it doesn't matter what the rule is. Here's what Rodgers did. He went against an NFL rule. He's in a union that is agreed on by the NFLPA. He went against it. He broke a rule. I don't care what the rule is, and he's not going to be on the field possibly 2 weeks and possibly hurt his team because of it. It doesn't matter what the rule is. That's my problem with what Rodgers did.
And I agree with that. I'm just saying
here's what I'll say.
More people would be in his camp.
Carson Wentz isn't getting his team in trouble. That's all I'm saying about Aaron Rodgers.
100%. But also Carson Wentz has a lot more to prove right now than Aaron Rodgers does.
Well, that's the problem with Aaron Rodgers. That's Aaron Rodgers in a nutshell. He doesn't care. He does not care.
And again, I think it's because of the fact that he and enough people feel like they haven't really done enough to build around an Aaron Rodgers. And that's all I'm trying to say.
Real quick, I would argue this is precisely the reason they drafted Love. This is precisely the reason, because they know who Aaron Rodgers is, and they knew at any minute he could walk away on this team.
And that's fair.
Exactly what I'll say.
And that's fair. But now we're getting to see Love play against Kansas City,
which is a big moment. Yeah,
it's a huge moment. And what's one of the most dangerous things to have to game plan around? A quarterback that you have
that
no
you've
film
never
on.
seen.
Yep, a quarterback that we just saw this last week, Jeff, where it was the week of the backup quarterbacks.
The Mike White show, baby.
Does that continue now? Because let's not pretend that
I think it could.
Green Bay could be better. Absolutely. Like they could do a better job than drafting the second best cornerback out of a college on a team in the first round. Like they could be drafting legit weapons for a guy like Aaron Rodgers, which again is why I sympathize a little bit for him. He's not like, my heart's not breaking for him, but I understand some of the points that he makes. Now, with that being said, like Jordan Love doesn't have as much weapons, but he still has one of the most talented wide receivers in the entire NFL, and Devontae Adams on his team right now against a team with a whole lot of questions, right? And so with that being said, I do think that there's a sneaky chance that Green Bay can walk out of this game the victors, because what does Kansas City have to game plan around? They don't have, like, they can't game plan for anying because no one knows what Love looks like in the NFL.
No, and they don't game plan anyway on defense. Like I see your point. I shouldn't say that Green Bay doesn't have a chance. I just think Kansas City's going to win.
And I'll be the odd duck. I'm going to go with Green Bay
nice.
For all the reasons that I stated. That there last week showed me in particular, maybe I'm in my feels a little bit, but last week showed me that, like, if you can't game plan for a quarterback, you're probably going to lose.
Yeah, and that defense is struggling. You got, Matthew out there going crazy, worried more about people being out of position than he is his job, like all kinds of things. I totally see it. Prez, how you feel about this game?
I lost my train of thought. What game were we talking about?
Green Bay, Kansas City.
Green Bay, Kansas City.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. I would just. I think. Remember when Aaron Rodgers had his. I know Brett Favre got hurt in this game, but when he played against the Cowboys and he had that kind of a breakout game, and then people were like, okay, we feel comfortable that we can let Aaron be the guy. This could be the game for Jordan Love for the Packers to be.
Should be.
It would be so Green Bay. So Green Bay.
They could feel comfortable with letting Jordan Love take the reins next year, because obviously we know this could be Aaron Rodgers' last hurrah with the Packers. This is the game for Jordan Love to be like, okay, let me show them that I was worthy of being a first round pick, and that they feel comfortable for me to be the future franchise quarterback of this team. For Jordan Love, he needs to come out slinging and show them that he's that dude. And if he comes out and shows that he's not, then they might have to, reconsider some things with Aaron or maybe a quarterback in the future. But for Jordan Love, like I said, there's no film on him either. So like we see, like Steven, you mentioned before last week, Mike White and all these backup quarterbacks, slinging the ball, winning football games. For Jordan Love, this is an opportunity for him to show the Packers, hey, we're going to be all right? We're going to have the same thing y'all were okay when Brett Favre gave the reins to Aaron. Y'all going to be all right giving the reins to Aaron. Took the reins. And so I think for Jordan Love, this is an opportunity of a lifetime to grab it and be like, okay, I'm going to be the guy going forward.
And he's been there long enough. He ought to take advantage of this and play really well. And another thing about this, and this isn't necessarily just a one-off game for Jordan Love. We could have if Aaron Rodgers decides that he is not going to go through the protocols set forth, he's not going to play the rest of the year.
Right.
Like, that's just the facts. Like, if he decides, like, I am not going to wear a mask to the press conference and things like that he's chosen, that's all good for Aaron Rodgers, but he's not going to be allowed to play football.
Yeah, you have to play by the rules.
That's what this boils down to. This is rules, and if he decides that he doesn't want to play by them, that's good for him, but he is not going to be able to play football the rest of the year. I don't think it is said and done that Rodgers is going to come back and do things by the book to play this season.
Yeah.
I think he's the type of, I think he's the type of guy that might be like, nope, I'm not doing it. I believe in everything I said. I'm not wearing, a mask in post game and things like that. And I'm not doing the separation, in the film rooms, because now they're going to be under the hot seat. They're going to be watching, obviously, now that, so I
We
don't
will not
necessarily
see you Sunday, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that this is Jordan Love's last game with the Packers. So it's extremely interesting.
Phillip
So,
Rivers, anyone? Maybe.
Oh my God, you and Rivers, man.
No,
That dude's probably in the playoffs now, the high school playoffs. I imagine his team's really good.
Oh, dude, yeah.
All right, guys. We covered the games. That was the pick 5. Thank you, Kenneth. Everyone go to offtheballnetwork.com and read the articles. They go way more in depth and explain everything. If you love basketball, read the basketball articles. There's something for everyone there. Things are really kicking right now at the network. We're having a great time. You know what? You gentlemen, tell them what you got going on right now for the future and your shows and things like that.
Well, first off, Jeff, always good to be able to talk to you, man. It was good to be back on See You Sunday. My first appearance since being back. Been taking a sabbatical of sorts away from football. I've been diving deeper into basketball, not just NBA, but now this year, Chris and I are co-hosting a NBA draft show that's going to be going all year long, right? So we just had a great show with Albert Gim of the Draft Deck podcast and of the No Ceilings team that he is a part of. That was a great show that's already out and available for anybody who is interested in checking that podcast out. Just go anywhere you get your podcast, look up Draft Capital. You'll see like this building with a basketball in front with 2 banners that say Draft Capital. We've had 2 great guests. We had Albert Gim, as I mentioned. We also had his teammate over at No Ceilings, Tyler Rucker, on. That's a great show. This week, we're going to be having Sam Ferris of the Draft Dummies podcast, which also airs on the Locked On Podcast Network. So, another big, great guest for us. I'm also working on my full court report for all you NBA fans out there. It's just kind of the week that was in the NBA. And that should be dropping this weekend as well. A lot of interesting things happening. So like Jeff had already said, go to offtheballnetwork.com for all of your sports needs. We keep it real for the real fans out there. And Jeff, again, you're a true pro. Anytime I get to link up with you, man, it's a good day. So I appreciate you having me.
Always my pleasure. Prez, what you got going on this week, man? I know you're a busy dude.
Yeah, man, just doing stuff for the network, behind the scenes stuff, trying to keep growing it. I had a podcast with my guy Justin from the Above the Rim.
Great show, by the way.
I appreciate that. That dropped. That was on Thursday, the live show, and the pod dropped yesterday. And then obviously Draft Capital we did yesterday, which is a ton of fun. And it's always the draft is always near and dear to my heart, because that's kind of that's what got my pod going. So whenever I could talk draft, I always I'm always down for that, because that's near and dear to my heart. But yeah, you could just catch that Draft Capital, Off the Ball Network, all these, all the entities, and obviously check out everyone's great content at the website offtheballnetwork.com. We got some cool new sponsors and all that with Built Bar and BetUS. So excited. We got some more good things in the works that I'm working on in the lab. So stay tuned. Follow us at OTB_network on Twitter. Check us out on Facebook right now, YouTube, Off the Ball Network. Check, get us some subs on YouTube. Trying to grow the YouTube
a lot of great stuff on the YouTube channel right now.
So give us a sub, a like on YouTube and all that. But just keep grinding, man. Everyone's doing great work at the network, and it's a pleasure to be on See You Sunday.
And Jeff, real quick, one last thing I forgot to plug. I got a lot going on, man. We talked about shooters. He and I co-host Breaking the Game. We're going to be recording tomorrow. It's going to be a fun show. We're going to be talking about kind of his power rankings that he's released. Jeff, I think that you inspire all of us with your great power rankings. My buddy Kenneth, he has power rankings. We're going to talk about those, and we're going to be talking about some of the streaks that are happening right now in the young NBA season, and kind of what's the key contributing factors that are the reasons behind that. So that'll be airing tomorrow live.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, you guys are killing it with the NBA stuff. The college stuff's coming up. You know, a lot of good things going on with basketball. It's not just a football network for sure. I'm Jeff from Jeff Needs Sports. Yeah, I put out the rankings. I put out the college rankings every week. We are we are like in over our head with college football content right now, having a great time. This is my wheelhouse. My
You
Buckeyes
do
are
great
getting ready.
work, man.
Yeah, Buckeyes are getting ready to play here shortly. I'm getting pumped up. Also, go check out the Off the Ball Network official podcast. We have a podcast that combines a lot of our shows together, and when we do the group show, so everybody go like and share and subscribe to that.
5 stars on Apple iTunes. We're on
yes,
iTunes,
please. Anything you could do.
5 stars, those nice comments and all that. So
we do. We appreciate it. I'll try to get this, See You Sunday up there. If you're listening to this there, like I say, 5 stars, like, share, berate people with it, because you never know when that one person, will latch on and realize that, we're the network for them. So thank everybody for watching. Thank everybody for listening. If you're listening, I want to thank Steven and Prez for coming on. You're 2 of the best guys to work with in the business, just in the business period, not just on football weekend. So that's it for everybody. Shout out to all the guys at Off the Ball Network, and we will see you next Saturday.